Today is a little different, as we have a special guest, the Part 1 Freddy glove, made by Keith Kadera. The reason why the glove and I showed up today, though, is because we have to sharpen a new friend. The Springwood Slicer. Alright, I'll stop that. But Keith made this knife with a very specific intent in mind. It mimics a Case P210 blade, which is what they used for the glove from the first Freddy movie, and second as well, I believe. But I'm not a Freddy historian. I merely am merely friends with one, and he wanted me to sharpen it. And since I have a problem, and that is that everything needs to be sharp, I said absolutely. And the very first thing you have to do is flatten the bottom. It's a chisel grind, so there's only a bevel on one side, which, while not the easiest thing to do in the world without power tools, the job gets done. But also, once the back is flat, it is relatively easy to maintain and sharpen, because you only have to worry about one side, and then breaking the burr off, and then bam. If it ever stops being sharp, it'll be sharp again. Yeah, you can see where it's shiny. There's a little ways to go. And flattening the back was probably a solid night worth of work. Well worth it. Once the knife is done being sharpened, it's destined to go on to a template for a part 1 and 2 middle finger. I learned some lingo from Keith because I don't know what I'm talking about, but I 100% I trust he knows what he's talking about. And as you can see with warp speed, even a day can go by a little faster. I'm using a diamond plate somewhat stubbornly because I have it and I want to use it, and the break-in period is a little rough. What I should have been doing from the get-go was using sandpaper on top of the diamond stone for the roughing in part, because this does take a while and sandpaper is much more aggressive. A lot like having a blade thrust at your face. Oh god, that is really distracting. Yeah, and also, as I understand it, there's a glove called the Apple glove, and it is the glove that Freddy uses to peel an apple in one scene of a movie. Again, apologies for not knowing my history. Correct me in the comments. I have no problem with that. But now, the knife is, for all intents and purposes, flat, and we're moving on to the fun part, which is not just sandpaper, but polishing it to a really nice, clean shine. And as long as it takes, and for as much arthritis as I'm going to develop in my later years, I'd say it's pretty worth it. I'm still getting used to getting scratches out from every layer of sandpaper, or every grit of sandpaper, excuse me. And something about that process just really intrigues me, because you take something that it feels one way when you get it, and then when you're done with it, it just feels really, really good. It's hard to explain other than seeming kind of creepy. Yes, I've switched to sandpaper for some of the fun stuff. I got the back to 400 grit, which is more than sufficient for what it's going to be. And there's a part of me that wants to do this again with a bevel on both sides and having it go even further up the blade, because why not? Since this isn't a reproduction of anything, it's just kind of neat. And it's functional. So I would love to also compare the function of one versus the other, even if I am partial to a chisel grind myself. Now that I'm satisfied with the back, I'm going to get satisfied with the front. And because I'm also learning the order of operations and things that you should or should not do first, maybe I could have held off on polishing up this bit until the bevel was well and truly polished. But, you know, live and learn. This is all about getting better at stuff. One thing you can't avoid with this whole process, especially if you don't wear gloves like an idiot, or like me, who's also an idiot, your hands will reek of steel for a good 2 or 3 days after this. This side, I matched the back side, and I got it to 400 grit as well. I figure if those parts match, then that's all good. One of the other tricky parts that we had to deal with was when we heat treated the blade, it wanted to warp. So we put it in a vise and kept it straight. And that is something that you'll almost always get with a bevel on only one side. Since it's asymmetric, it's going to want to curve towards the side with more material. I'm not sure why that is, unless I'm mixing up those, like how that happens. But it is a heat-treated blade, and it's quenched, tempered, and the HRC is around 55. So it's a functional, springy blade. It is not a it is not, however, like it's not super, super hard. It is functionally hard. So it should be tougher than the average. I'm going to eat these words. It should be tough, but it should also not be a pain in the ass to sharpen after this. So here's where I fuck up. And I don't know if you can hear swearing, but just know that it's going on inside of my head. The bevel wasn't quite taken down to an edge. Excuse me. The knife wasn't sharp before I polished it, and I should have sharpened it first. So this actually ended up taking... This took another full day to get the bevel all the way down to sharp and happy. And those non-slip pads, it's the first time I've seen them start doing twisties while using them. One other thing that I decided to do was increase the size of the sharpening notch, both for my ease and the future user's ease. And these little needle files are screaming hard, but I'm positive that that is not good for that little file regardless. Hard steel on hard steel is not it's not a good scene. So after finally getting the edge to sharp, where I could feel burr all the way along it on the backside, I put a mirror polish on the bevel. It gave it a nice contrast. It's been a long time since I've really tried to put a mirror polish on something, and the end result is really cool, I have to admit. And very, very smooth. At this point, I'm working on getting it. I'm working on getting it the last like 3% of the way there to be really, really sharp. And I would say that by the end of it, I get an amount of success that I am okay with, given my tools and experience. Also, the leather strap part is always fun. And I will look patchy for a fucking week. Yeah! And don't let me don't think that I'm trying to mislead you. It's not push cut sharp. It is a draw cut that is doing the actual cutting. And even though it's not quite a razor blade, this is really fun, and the edge is convex, so it has a little more meat behind the edge to help it from going dull quite so soon. I'm pretty pleased with that. So I'm going to do it for like 4 more minutes. a jackass. You're not even doing a good job, dude. Calm it down. Alright, I won me back. That was pointless and... alright. This blade may or may not have already drawn blood. My blood. It also makes my left arm look like I have mange. Now, it is time to get it ready to go home. I can't get over how goddamn cool that thing is. Anybody that makes prop Freddy gloves, like, holy shit. There's a lot of work and attention to detail and just... it's amazing. I'm happy to contribute a little bit of what I do towards what I think is probably a really fucking cool community. Yeah. Much like I got it, I gotta give it back. It was only on loan. And Freddy doesn't loan things for long, I'm sure. Or Keith. Which is a lie. He would loan me that thing for as long as I needed it. Shh. Alright, I'm not completely insane. Proper transportation. Wrap in paper towel. Blue tape the ever-loving fuck out of it. And make sure that you don't drop it or try to stab somebody with it. Because it's a scary sharp blade that has had a lot of work being put into it, and I want it safe. Alright. Anyway. Thank you for watching. I hope everybody's doing well, and I hope that this blade finds a good home. All blades should find a good home. As long as it's not somebody else's liver. That's alive. Don't stab anybody with this knife. Much, much less cool ending. Well done, Adrian. Well done. Alright. Thank you again. Bye.